What do we have here? We've got the second heat treat. There was a first one, and now this is the second one. What does the second one mean? It means I put it in that thing. In case you missed it, like 80% of you, I put a brick in there so the middle is not part of the heat treatment area, right? Because I noticed in the middle of the roaster, the heat treat was not as good as the rocks around the outside. So I put a brick in the middle so that whatever I stick in there gets heat treated evenly. I still have not tested the corners. All right. Now this is a temperature gauge. I keep calling it a thermometer. It's a temperature gauge, right? Let's see. For those who are new, this is just a regular paver brick. Okay, paver. P-A-V-E-R. That's not a brand name. Mine thing goes up to 450. It's a 20 or 22 quart. I don't remember. Although it might say on the data panel. Let me see. Does it say? If it's stupid, it won't say. It's stupid, so it doesn't say it. All right? I don't see it. Anyway. That's what I do. This temperature gauge is purchased on Amazon. It goes up to 800 degrees. This second heat treat was right. The dial was right there. I think that's 440 for 3 hours. Now I ramped it up slowly, kind of, right? For the 80% of you that haven't watched my previous videos, the way I do it is I set it to 150. That means that it's going to heat up somewhere between 175 to 200 degrees. Because it's actually hotter in there with an insulated lid than it is without an insulated lid. What's an insulated lid? That you'll have to find out by yourself. Now, once it's at 200 on this dial for 24 hours, I turn it up some more. So I turn it up to about right there. 3 notches. 1, 2, 3. Each notch is 50 degrees. So theoretically, it should go up to like 300. Right? 250. That's 225. So it goes up to about 300 degrees on here. Alright, it's not an exact science. It goes up to about 300 when I hit it there. And then I leave it there for an hour or two. After it's been there for an hour or two, I ramp it up 1, 2, 3 more notches. And it goes up to like, at this level, it goes up to like 385. So I do a little bit more. That's 2 hours. A little bit more after that to, let's see, I think it was right there to get it up to 4. I thought it was going to go to 450. I don't need to dial it to 350 to get it to 450. It's a little bit less. So I was at a little bit less than 350 and it went up to 440. I left it there for 3 hours. And after 3 hours, you just go turn it off and unplug it and leave it to let it cool for 12 hours. All right. Just in case you're the new guys that just barely tuned in. This is all the same rock. This whole series is nothing but the same rock every time. It's the same stuff. Now, this is from the first heat treat that turned out really good. Okay? I wrote some notes. We'll go into that later. But anyway, this heat treat was, what is it? 345 for 4 hours, and it was checked off as good. All right, so this is a good at that temperature. Look closely, and you can see there's a slight difference in color. This one, just to remind everybody, and be all persnickety about this, it's 440 degrees Fahrenheit. That's important. It's not Celsius. For 3 hours, because I had to go to bed. Yeah. or else it would have been 4 hours. And okay, that's this batch. It's all this from the same original 44 pounds of Romolo eBay bull gravel, right? And you can take that any way you want. Bull rock, bull gravel. Is that BS gravel? Well, yeah, it can be. But we're going to go into this in a deep dive to see how much we can use and what we can make out of it from cheap bull gravel stone. Right? Right. So can you see the difference in color? If you can't, let me get some stuff for you to see. I believe this is the same material. Same. See how it's different, these shades of gray? This one is more reddish. This one is not. This one looks like it's still raw, but it naps much better. You artifact guys that think the Indians made everything out of raw because it looks raw. Yeah. Anyway, this is redder. Is it redder on the inside too? We will find out. A lot of times it is not, but we never know. Now, there are some casualties. What are casualties? Things that break up into heat at that temperature. I think this is a casualty, although I could be wrong. This might be just a napped flake. Let me see. There is a casualty in here somewhere because I saw it. Let me see if I can fetch it. Yeah, I put it on top. See that? That's caused by too much heat. And this one looks like it was going to be just fine. I took a piece off earlier, right? I took a flake off earlier. It seemed like it was going to need more heat, but lo and behold, more heat made it bad. Yeah, this is probably a total waste. That's what it looks like. Look carefully on the heat damage and compare that to other damage you've seen in rocks. It's not the same. Right? There's a specific look to the heat damage. Okay? Now, can forest fires and stuff cause that? We're going to find out. Oh, yes. Because I'm going to get more bull gravel and we're going to light a fire on top of it and see what happens. Yes, we are. And we're going to try to debunk some stuff. So this series is going to be like 15 videos long because we're going to be working with this type of chert to see what happens under different circumstances. And yes, I'm going to drop water on hot rocks to see if it flakes. Oh, yes. So we're going to do the forest fire thing to see if it makes this kind of failure. We're also going to drop water on hot rocks. We're going to be napping this to see if it improved at 440. I'm not going to go higher than 440 because then I will lose the whole batch probably. I don't want to lose my whole batch of rocks. I got to nap some stuff out of it. Yeah. I don't want to waste it all. Alright, so let's start napping it. I might find some more casualties in here. But like I said, the darker stuff, this is darker compared to this, okay? This is the lighter stuff, this is the darker stuff. That's what I mean. Some people say, this is not like black obsidian. It's not dark. Okay, it's relatively dark. This is relatively light, relatively dark. The darker stuff doesn't heat treat at higher temperatures very well, in my experience. The lighter the color, the better it is. See, this is even lighter than that. Okay, I think this is probably going to work out fine, but you never know. It's just in general, the lighter ones work better with this particular type of Texas bull gravel. And yeah, you can call it BS gravel or whatever you want, but it's actually called bull gravel at the landscape supply yards. You can buy this by the cubic yard. It used to be ridiculously cheap. Nowadays, the landscapers have wised up and they are selling it much more expensively if you buy a small quantity. You can still buy it by the cubic yard fairly cheap. You know, the price of gas and diesel has affected the price of stone. But you can have it delivered to your house. Yeah, you can have a couple of yards just dumped right outside your lawn. Yeah. I mean, you'll have this kind of stuff to knap forever. All right. See how glossy it is? See how glossy it wasn't on the first try? But now it's glossy. But now it's also ruined. Yeah, ruined, whichever one you want to say. All right, we're going to nap it anyway to see what's going on, because I can show you what it looks like to be glossy. Now, what is the temperature, you might ask? Well, this is not useful to me, you might say. Failure is not useful, and the first heat treat at a lower temperature is also sort of a failure, so it's not useful. I want useful. Yeah, well, you have to experiment. Even if I told you the perfect temperature for this kind of rock, yours is probably going to heat at different temperatures. Yours is probably not going to get glossed up like this at 440. It might need 475, or it might need 400 even. Or yours might not break up at 440. Yours might actually break up at 400, or it might break up at 500 degrees Fahrenheit. Remember to use the temperature gauge and not the dial on the turkey roaster. All right? The dial on the turkey roaster is not accurate once you have the lid insulated. I had to learn the hard way. That truth. All right, see how glossy it is? I don't know, I might be able to get, if I can clear off the nasty crazed area, it might be good for an arrowhead. Hold on. Because it feels like it's not snapping halfish. All right. It feels like it's still sound. So we'll see. I'm going to see if I can knock off the nasty crazed area. Now I call it crazed if I see that on raw stone as well. Crazing, C-R-A-Z, just the way it sounds. C-R-A-Z-I-N-G, crazing. I see that on raw stone, or what supposedly is raw stone. So on the raw stone, it may or may not be the result of forest fires or grass fires or wildfires. It may be due to weather conditions like freeze and thaw cycles. So the crazing is going to look a little bit different if it has a different source of temperature change. All right. But it is caused by temperature change, or thermal alteration, as they call it in the archaeological studies. They call it thermal alteration. They don't call it heat treat. Okay. Only us country bumpkins call it heat treat. All right. Okay, let's see. Let's get it down to the thin. Let's thin it down so we can see. It still feels like it can be napped. It hasn't snapped in half yet, so I might be able to skim off that crazing. Now you might see that word crazing in the archaeological texts because I think it's a geological term, or whatever. Geologists might use that term. I can't remember. I didn't make it up. Wish I did, but no, I did not make that up. Let's see if we can skim that off, shall we? Is it working? Yeah. Even if I cannot skim it all off, it doesn't matter. It can still be made into an arrowhead. And guess what? There are artifacts, and I have some that are completed points with that in the completed point. Now, does that mean it was made with this already there? Or did this happen after the artifact was made? Like if the artifact was lost in a forest and then the forest burned down, causing it. Which one was it? The world will never know. Although I bet you can probably, with scrutiny and a microscope, you can tell if it's been flaked over or if this crazing has popped off the surface. You might be able to tell under a microscope whether the crazing is before or after the point was made. We're going to make one with crazing already in the stone. Yep. To show you that it can be done. Some of you might say, well, you can show us it can be done if you use steel. What about antler? Yeah, knapping is knapping, whether it's steel or antler. If it can be napped, it can be napped. Is it easy to nap through? Yeah, it's much easier than before. Remember how it was when it was raw? No? You missed it? Oh, you need to set aside a time where you can spend like 4 hours watching my previous series, because these questions that are being asked about heat treat cannot be answered in one video. In fact, it cannot be answered in 10 videos. I'm probably gonna have to do 20 videos or whatever. However many it takes to answer the questions about heat treat, that's how many videos it's going to take. I don't know how many yet. But I do know that it cannot be answered in one video. Not demonstrated. It can be summarized. I can tell you the results in one video, but then you won't actually see the basis for the surmisation. Yeah. Well, it's still in there. Lots of the crazing is still in there. And I'm getting to the point where I can't thin it down anymore in that direction without losing some length. Because I'll install a curve, and that means you got to lose some off the tip and some off the base to straighten it out. It naps through the crazing fairly well. I don't want to leave a lot of it in there because it is weak. You know what I mean? If I start thinning down the other side, I might start hitting the crazing from the other side, and that's when it'll break in half without any effort at all. It'll just snap. Because this is all weak stuff in there. Should I continue? Can you see? Is it blurry? We'll just leave it as a biface so we can move on. Just know that there are artifacts with the crazing in it. It's just I couldn't tell when I saw them if the crazing is before or after the point was made. But this proves that you can make a point with the crazing in it already. It is possible to knap a point that is heat damaged. So that's why you don't know if it's heat damaged before or after. Did you catch the reasoning? Yes? Good. Can I knap some of this side by side with the stuff that's raw? Yeah, if I can find it. I mean, if I can match it up, which I can in some cases. So if I can match it up with something that's, well, in this case, it's all heated in this batch. I've got more to come that is in a different box. Don't worry, there's a lot more videos dealing with this just one batch of rocks. These are all heat treats, so I can't compare totally raw to high level heat treat yet. We'll do that later. And I'm going to have to probably just heat treat little bits at a time and not big batches for the other stuff that I've got set aside. Heat one little batch at a time. I will do it because this time I'm taking the deep dive. That means I'm not going to skip out on one of the steps. I'm going to go over everything. And yeah, some of this stuff I'm going to heat over a fire, a natural fire. Not this stuff. This stuff has already been heat treated. I'm not going to heat treat any of this over a fire. It's the other stuff from this batch that I set aside. I think it was in the first video as the actual Primo material. This is the stuff. This here is the stuff that was presumably heat treatable, and now we're finding out just how well it works after being heat treated. And I got to do a lot of it because it doesn't do any good for you to see just a small sampling of how it works after heat treating. You need to see various stones and various flakes from the same stones heat treated, so you'll know the variables, the variations in the variables. And since I'm going to take the deep dive into this series, I can put it together as a playlist, and when someone comes up in a week or two saying, I don't see any heat treat videos, I'll be able to point them in the direction of this playlist or give them a link to it. Yeah. A week after this series is done, someone's going to say, do you have any heat treat videos? And I'll just have to calmly and patiently said, yeah, funny you should ask. Funny you should ask that question. I just finished a series and here it is. Yeah, but do you have like an explanation in 5 minutes and talk to me like I'm 5? 5 minutes like I'm 5? No, I don't, because if I explain it to you in 5 minutes and like you're 5, you're going to get an explanation that is just as good as a 5-minute explanation to a 5-year-old, which is not a good explanation at all. Okay? So you got to strap in and do the eBay bull gravel playlist marathon. Yeah. Sorry. That's the way it is. Life's hard. I'm trying to get this as thin as I can to see how thin I can go. That's as thin as I want to go. But see, you can get it thin even with the nasty stuff. Alright, so artifacts can be made with the crazing in it. Alright, so don't be saying, no, I don't think so. I think the crazing happens only after, because there's no way you can make an artifact with the crazing in it. Yeah, well, here you go. There you go. I'm hitting the base and everything. I'm hitting it like it could snap in half, and it hasn't snapped in half yet. Yeah. There it goes. And we'll do the whole 9 yards. How's that? Do I have time? Yeah, it's only 25 minutes. We'll quickly put a edge on here and symmetritize it and put a couple notches, and we're done. Yep. Just so you can see that, yeah, I indeed did make a point. Should I make one of those tortugas? Or actually no, it's a Matamoros point. Should I make one of those? Maybe. Or a Catan point? Maybe. We'll see. Apparently they're found in the same campsites in the same time period, and they're totally different looking points. Apparently the one culture made two very different looking points. What am I talking about? Just look at the previous video where it has a red book in it. Or I don't know if it's in the previous video, but in this series I use a red book to identify the artifacts. The prelude to this Romolo eBay chert video series is a video series of 2 videos called Guillermo's Rocks. I'm putting these together on purpose because Guillermo's Rocks are actual artifacts made from gravel cherts in Texas, mid to south Texas stuff, so that we can go full circle. We can see the stuff in the raw state, and we can see stuff made from artifacts. I mean, we can see artifacts made from this stuff. That kind of thing. I don't know what I was going to say, but we can see everything from modern to ancient knapped items made from gravel chert, or what they call bull gravel. And yes, artifacts were made from it, in case you missed it. Go back to the Guillermo's Rock series and watch. Those were made of gravel cherts, just like this. And yes, they were heat treated as well. The artifacts. Some of them have obvious signs of heat treating, some of them don't have obvious signs of heat treating. So this series will help us to form educated guesses as to how they look. I'm not going to knap the artifacts to see if they knap easy or not, because I don't want to destroy the artifacts. In order to see if the artifact naps easy, I've got to knap quite a bit of the artifact to be sure, and that totally alters the artifact, so I'm not going to do it. I mean, it severely alters the artifact if I were to perform enough napping on there to be sure that it naps differently from the raw state, if that indeed is the case. If it is indeed heat treated, it will nap differently than it would nap in the raw state. But I can't just take one chip and say, okay, yeah, I know the difference just with one flake or 2 flakes. Yeah, I can tell the difference just with 2 flakes. No, I got to basically nap all the way around the whole thing to see for sure what the differences are. if any, compared to raw or to heat treat. Okay, so I'm not going to do it, but I will do it with this stuff. Because we're taking a deep dive. Yep. I'm in a hurry all day today. I am hopped up on caffeine. Yep. Of course, I had to do 100 things before I got to this today. You know how ADHD works. You want to do one thing and then all these other things need to get done before you can do that one thing. It's not like regular people, they can just get right to it. No, an ADHD person has to do 100 things before they can do one thing. Alright, so this is regularized well enough to show you that it can be regularized and sharpened and all that. Yeah, thin enough to be an artifact, and I'm just going to put notches in the way I normally do, the corner notches. I'm not going to try to duplicate an artifact, not yet. I'll wait till I get to the Primo stuff, the actual Primo stuff, to duplicate some of the artifacts. Right now I'm just gonna quickly put notches in here to show you that it can be notched even with heat damage. Some of you might say, I believe you, I believe you. No, you don't believe me until I do it, okay? I know you. You say you believe me, but you don't. I gotta show you. Where's your accent from? Someone's gonna ask. If you want to know how I really talk, just look at my update videos where you can see my face. I usually don't do accents during that type of video. That's how in those videos with my updates, that's how I normally talk. If you hear an accent or something weird, that's not how I normally talk. That's how I do my yip yap during the videos. Yep. Yeah, I gotta be careful when I pop these out. As usual, you know, just like normal. All right, so that's it for that. Let's take one flake from the base, just so we can see. Can we do a flake from the base while it's all crazed? Because I don't know. Some of you might say, well, okay, you can do the notching, you can do the thinning, you can do the sharpening, but can you do the basal flakes while it's crazed? We're gonna find out. There's one. It's a basal flake while it's crazed. 2 basal flakes while it's crazed. Cheater flaking while it's crazed. Ready? No, it didn't go. Ooh, it's not going because it's all nasty in there. It's all kind of crunchily. Let's see. It's getting there. It's all kind of crunchy in there because of the crazing. Yeah, so I had to loosen those up with the spatula tool. Just pick them out. But yeah, see, I can do the basal flaking while it's crazed. And make a complete point. Worthy of being hafted. Yeah. And don't tell me it can't be done in the past, because, you know, if a dork like me can do it, and I don't even have to depend on this for my food, then they sure did do it back in the day. Right? Why would they say, nah, I'm not gonna nap it because it looks kind of funny? Yeah, but we need more points to ensure the kill for the hunt. Yeah, but it looks funny. And the archaeologists, what about the archaeologists? Gotta be considerate. They won't know if it's before or after. If I nap it, they'll get confused. Right? That's the conversation back in the day. No? Yeah, I didn't think so. They nap whatever naps. And it naps easy, comparatively speaking. If I say easy, it's not easy to flint nap, but comparatively speaking to this state, to this stone in the raw state, it's easy. Comparatively speaking. Yeah. All right, so is that enough? Now, is this a fluke? Well, maybe, but, you know, it's quite a coincidence if I could do it with the only one that I picked out of the heat treat. Chances are, if I can do one at totally random and be successful, then, you know, I could probably do it with a lot more. It'd be too much of a coincidence if this is the only piece in within a 200-mile radius that I could do it with. Right? It just happened to be in the box with this particular order at this moment in time. It'd be too much of a coincidence that this is the only crazed piece that could ever be napped into an arrowhead. Yeah, it'd be too much of a coincidence. All right, so that's just corner notched. It can't. So I just showed that it can be notched, it can be basal thinned, it can be thinned down, it can be sharpened with the crazing in it. Okay, keep that in mind. Many of you will not know this in 2 weeks because, you know, that's just the way it goes with videos. All right, let's see what we go. Let's see what we got. Do we have a glossy? It's getting glossy. Oh yes. It can probably go a little hotter than 440. Right? Did I write that down? In case you missed it, I'm going to write it down again. I heated this to 440 degrees Fahrenheit for 3 hours. Can you read it? 440 degrees Fahrenheit for 3 hours. And it seems to be napping very easily. Yes. Like exceptional quality material now. Yeah. And you might say, exceptional? How can this bull gravel become exceptional? It's not possible. I just threw away 4 boxes of this stuff. Dang it. Yeah. I should have done this series a long time ago, huh? So you wouldn't have thrown away 2 boxes full of this, thinking that I got gypped. I got gypped from eBay, man. There's nothing exceptional about this stone. Never can be, never will be. until you watch my video. Then you go, oh man. And just to think, my grandpa has like, or used to have in his yard, a ton of this landscaping rock, and we just dumped it after we bought the house. I could have had rock for life, man. Yeah, could have. That's what you get. You smarted yourself into being stupid. Yep. Alright. Oh, it's so nice. Yes, it is. Oops. Let's not mix it up, okay? Let's keep it separated. In this case, segregation is a good thing. Yeah. Alright. Keep those separated. Yeah, see how glossy that is? And it's, remember I said this stuff is different than this stuff? See how different it is? It also changed a little bit in the color. It's much nicer on this side than this side, but this side is now napping well. Yeah. Even the cruddy side has some gloss to it. See that? You do see it, right? I think you guys have better eyesight than hearing sometimes. Even though I think most of you guys just sit there and listen, you don't watch it. Yeah. Anyway, you can see that it's napping well. Hopefully you can see that. Let me start getting serious with it. I gotta put the glove on. There we go. This is the serious indirect percussion tool. We're going to take off some good flakes, big flakes. Okay. I'm not going to nap this down extremely thin. I'm going to nap it down to show you how thin it can get without breaking it. I'll probably thin it down more off camera so I can offer it as a thin biface in the auction. Now I'm needing to grind it more. It's starting to crush, so let me grind the edges more. Try to get a big flake off of this. There we go. Now we were able to get, or I was able to get big flakes earlier too, right? When it was raw. I don't remember exactly how difficult this was to nap. I know it wasn't that difficult on this side. It's still not difficult. Sometimes when you heat treat it, it gets too crackly, especially on the edges. This one is maintaining its strength, or has maintained its strength through the heat treat. So I'm turning the edge this way. We're going to knock some flakes off in the other direction, or from the other side. Am I hitting it hard? Yeah, it is relatively hard, but it's not tooth rattling hard. It is just normal hard fast strikes, or I should say average. It's snapping like high quality stuff now. Same issues though, you know, have to watch for step fractures and watch for crushing on the edges. Everything's the same as far as being careful, but it's not like it was when it was in the raw state where everything has to be treated like you're using a battering ram against a reinforced steel door. Right? Right. Yeah, see, that's just normal strikes to get rid of thick spots. Yeah. Just normal. Average. And average difficulty with the step fractures is nothing really out of the ordinary. Sometimes when a heat treat is a little bit too hot, you get a lot of step fractures because the flakes are just not strong enough to continue. They break up too fast or the edge crushes too much. Yeah, see, I can get a long flake on that side too. I can make something out of that. Yeah, so there you go. Come on. The flake didn't feel like detaching. Yeah, just regular. It's inconsistent. There are areas that are different on here. Like there's crunchy areas, they feel crunchy. Yeah, this side still feels crunchy. Am I in the frame? The tough side still feels a little bit crunchy. I'm going to try to sand in more than just that one flake. That might have been a fluke. That one large flake, it might have been a fluke. So let's try some more attempts at large flakes. Yeah, that's a good one. Let's see, one more time. Yeah, all right. I can get long flakes and big flakes on this material on the bad side. Yeah. Can I damage control it? Well, let's see. There's some crunchiness going on right there. Let's see if I can damage control it. Because that's the real test. How does it actually work for thinning down a thin piece and making it nice and smooth? It is damage controllable. Yep. So there you go. All the tests, I did all the conceivable tests that I can think of so far. Right? Yeah. No, I didn't notch this, but you just saw me notch something similar. It's similar stuff. I'm going to shoot a flake into here. It's a little bit dicey because it's getting thin. I just want to see if it can be damage controllable. See, it's starting to dive right in there, which is not a good sign, but I I think it can be managed. I do have to make it more narrow to shoot a flake in there. That's pretty typical of heat treat. When you start to get the flakes that hit each other in the middle, some of them start to dive in. Yeah, that's my excuse. Is there a good avenue of attack? It's kind of wide. Yeah. There are a few areas that I can shoot flakes to try to clear that out. But it's dicey. What would be better is it just to make it more narrow, pick out some of those steps so that the further flaking doesn't hit the steps in weird ways. Get those step fractures out of there, or try to pop them out. See what you got. Yeah, so that's what I got. What this flake here looked like it started to dive, but now we can see it's more clear to know where to shoot a flake. I would probably move this edge further this way and then take a flake across here to catch that from the backside. But I'll leave it that way. I'll finish this as far as thinning it down off camera so I don't break it. All right. Let's see. I was hoping to show you some glossy effects. Let's see if there is some. This one doesn't get glossy even at 440. This one did at 440. This one did not. It didn't get any glossier at 440. Now, does it nap easier? I don't know. I don't know for sure. It does have a little bit of luster to it. See that? A little bit. I can't remember exactly how this was napping before, but there is a little bit of gloss to it. It'll probably take more heat, but it's napping fine now, just like a high-grade raw. It's not like a high-grade heat treat. It's more like a high-grade raw. A high-grade heat treat naps a lot like Obsidian. Heat treat in the higher grades becomes glass-like, and sometimes very glass-like. Some of the Georgia chert becomes very glass-like. Some of this stuff can become glass-like. It's not exactly like Obsidian, so that's kind of misleading. But there's not much else I can compare it to. There are raw stones that nap well like this. So just keep it in mind, this is heated to 440, which is a substantial thermal alteration temperature, but it does not look like it's been heat treated to 440. There's just a slight difference in luster. And with age, the patina takes care of that and wipes away the luster. In some cases, not all cases, sometimes it actually gets shinier with age, but for the most part, a patina will eliminate that luster from the heat treat. As far as I know, I could be wrong about that. As far as I know, the patina messes with the luster of the heat treat. So some artifacts may look raw and very well napped, but in actuality they could be heat treats and very well napped because the heat treat quality is very good. Now, another thing to keep in mind is the range at which this can be heat treated. You can heat it as low as 345, is it the other one? 345 to 445, that's a big range. Now, the thing to keep in mind is when you're heating it over a campfire or next to a campfire and you don't have temperature gauge or infrared sensors or anything like that, it's good to have a range of heat treat temperatures. That way you don't really need to know exactly. You just put your hand over it, that feels within range. And this, since it heats at such a big range, it's effective for heat treatment. This type of stone is good for the open fire or any kind of heat treat where you don't have a way to keep track of the temperature, because it doesn't have to be exact. The takeaway is it doesn't have to be exact. There's a 100-degree temperature range difference here. Okay, and we only had one failure. So it doesn't have to be a very narrow range that you have to heat it to. All right, so it's not like it's rocket science. So that means it can be done in a primitive way in the past without complicated instruments or without technology. Okay? Some people get hung up on, well, they didn't have temperature gauges and all that. How did they do it? They did it because some of these stones heat treat at a large range of temperatures, so they don't need to have very precise instrumentation or anything like that in order to effectively heat treat. Okay? Did you catch it? No? You caught it, but you want to ignore it because you don't like it? You don't like that truth? You would rather say, no, they made it all raw because there's no way they had that much technological know-how. Yeah. So it was all raw. Yeah. You don't need a lot of technological know-how to get this stuff heat treated. That's the whole point of this particular rant. You don't need to know or have a lot of technological instrumentation or know-how. And you can't tell if it's heat treated. It looks like it's raw. Yeah. There's a little bit of luster, so it gives it away if you look closely, but some of the areas that I just napped are still rough. They're still rough looking. Only the good, it's inconsistent, so the good areas are glossier than the bad areas. This down here is napping much easier than this up here. Okay, all right. What else we got? We got this one here. I'm trying to pick the ones that are different from each other. I've napped a lot of this stuff. Let's see if it holds up to what I'm used to. I'm used to this being nice, really, really nice, so we'll see. Still a little tough. We'll see. I might need more than 440. No, I don't know. It's not glossier. I wouldn't call it high grade. I seem to remember this being easier to nap in the past. Maybe I'm just spoiled nowadays because I've napped some really good stuff. Yeah, it's just knapping like a high grade raw. Yeah, it's not really an outstanding, it's not in that outstanding heat treat. Yeah, it's just a regular. Yep, just regular stuff. I remember it being nicer than this. This gray. It feels a lot smoother, yeah, but let me just see if I can get some big long flakes. If I can get some big long flakes like from this one here, if I can get similar, then I would consider it, you know, high grade, just like this one. But so far, it feels like a mid-grade heat treat. That's a good flake. It's not. There's a crunchy, well, it's a tough area. Yeah, inconsistent. Okay. So there's inconsistencies. I would still consider it a mid-grade and not a low-grade. Sometimes the inconsistencies will make it a low-grade. Let's see. Let's see if I can bust through a lot of those stiff fractures and stuff. Oh yeah, I can do it. I just did that one flake right there, so I can bust through and damage control stuff. That's very important. Yep. I can plow through some of the nasty stuff. Now I have not pressure flaked this stuff, have I? No. I'm forgetting to pressure flake this. See how well it pressure flakes. Some of you guys, that's all you're interested in is, okay, I slab it, man. I slab it. You need to pressure flake it because I slab it. I don't do this. Yeah, a lot of you guys will slab the bull rock and then heat treat it and then pressure flake it. And some of you guys are wanting to do that, but you want to see how well it pressure flakes before you make the investment. Yeah. Should I slab the bull gravel? I'm not going to slab it unless he shows how easy it is to pressure flake. Yeah. I'll pressure flake it here in a minute. I'm just wondering, I am wanting to see if this is damage controllable. That's extremely important. Can you thin down a thin piece? That's extremely important. Is it thinnable? You might say, well, anything's thinnable if you're good enough. Thinnable. Yeah, kind of, sort of. You do have to depend on the rock a little bit for cooperation. In the thinnable arena. Not everything is thinnable, in my view. So I in that case, I recommend that the guys do not thin it down. Keep it thick. This, you can thin it down. It looks like it's thinnable. Yeah. Yeah. You can thin it down. And the damage control is not bad. I do have a couple of step fractures in here, but they're pretty typical. Let's see if I can pop it out. It's important also to see if you can pop those out. Yeah, pop outable. Yeah. I didn't do a perfect job. I could probably get in there and pop more of it out, but they are poppable. All right, let's see what pressure flaking looks like. Oh yes, look at that, all the way. Now, do I recommend slabbing it? No, because I don't like slabs. I'm never going to recommend it, but it looks like it's possible. You just got to watch out for inconsistent areas. Oh, that's not good. That one went to there. Yeah, there's a lot. You need a lot of force, but it is pressure flakeable. Okay, it's going to be like dirt. It's not like obsidian flaking. But yeah, it is flakeable if you wanted to slab it, as long as the slabs aren't really, really big. I don't see why not. You know, this length of that flake, if I can do a length of flake that long, like I think it's 3/4 of an inch. So the widest you could have would be like 1 1/4 inches, because you want slight overlap. 1 1/4 inch wide slabs are good for hunting points. You can slab these out for hunting points. But if you want to slab them out for percussion bifaces, you need to have them thick, you know, like 1/2 inch thick. You can heat treat them at 1/2 inch thick, or 3/8. 3/8 minimum, you know. I think this is more than 3/8, but we're gonna see. Start at 1 inch mark. Let's see how thick this is. This is 3/8. With a slab, minimum 3/8 thickness. You can go 1/2 inch if it's tough material and it really needs to be hit hard in order to get it to look like it's fully flaked. You need a thick slab. But if you have a 3/8 inch slab and a skilled napper, and let's see, this is 2 1/4, no more than that wide. You should be all right if you want to slab it. Okay, that's enough for that one. What else is there? Let's do this. It's already an hour, so I'm going to stop here in a little bit. Let's see what this looks like. Yes, yes. It's snapping more easily. Oh yes. There's some gloss to it. Right under the cortex, of course. Stuff that's going to be napped away, but and this did get more reddish. But that reddishness is only on the surface. It's not underneath. You can see the color difference. And yeah, it now looks heat treated. You can see how smooth the flake is here, but it's ripply. It's getting more ripply. See how smooth the original flakes are? As you heat treat it, it gets more ripply. That's pretty typical. Yeah, these flakes are getting more ripply than these. See that? It's one way to tell if it's a heat treat. One way. It's not always the case. It doesn't always get ripply. Like this is still pretty smooth. But it's much easier to nap. Oh yes. I'm not hitting it very hard. Alright, so this is 440. Did I say? I've been saying 440, right? I think it's actually, oh no, it is 440. Never mind. Never mind. I got mixed up because I said 445 earlier. 345 to 445 is a 100-degree difference. That's what I was saying earlier. It's not quite a 100-degree difference, but it's very close. All right. I remember this one. Let's see what we got. Let's see. It's a little bit curved, so I gotta be careful where I remove material to get it straightened out. Yeah, there's a little bit of luster to it, more waxy. There is a reddish looking color change. Let's see. Is it the same stuff as this? I don't know. It's not exactly the same stuff. Where is it exactly? I don't know. I don't think we had an exact match. Did we? Is that an exact match? No. Was it this? No, but anyway, it is more reddish. You can tell too. See the difference? Even with this poor camera, you can see that there is a difference in color. Yeah. You can see, especially with some of these surfaces, they turn really dark. Like this one was not even nearly this dark before. All right, let's just nap this stuff. It's got some luster to it. That's what I wanted to show you, right? I wanted to show you how it looks when it's got some luster to it. I was hoping we had some of that in this batch. But it's inconsistent. Some of it is more lustrous than some of the other parts of it. But you know, it's less than $2 a pound, including the shipping, because the shipping was free. Less than $2 a pound. You do have to put some money into heat treating. There is a little bit of an electric bill on the heat treat. And of course the labor. If you don't have time, that does make a difference. If you don't have time to heat treat it, then it's not worth the investment. In other words, heat treating doubles the amount you can use effectively. Even when something like that happens. Because there's incipients. Incipient bulbs, incipient cracks. What's an incipient? Someone else is going to have to tell you. All right, let's do some damage control. Smoothing this out. Straighten it out. Get rid of the crunchy. Uncrunchify it has become an official Flintknapping term. We're going to uncrunchify it. Get it's all crunchy up in here. A little bit too much. A little bit too much uncrunchification there. Yeah, it's adequate. I did a little bit too much thinning here. Yeah. Took away a little bit too much, being a little bit too aggressive, but yeah, I can uncrunchify it. Yeah. All right. What else? Yeah, I wanted to get into this one before I spent too much time. Nice. There is some gloss. Make sure I mark all of these. Even this one. Oh, yes. Gotta keep track. This is all persnickety. Okay, this one is a little more crackly than the others, so it's a little more of a challenge. Yeah. But it does seem to nap well. Yep. Yeah. It's a little more crackly, like a regular heat treat. Yeah. But it is a nice stone. Yep, even if it is crackly and you have to really build up those edges so it won't crush on you. Pretty sure you can remove some big bold flakes. Let me just see. Oh yeah, that wasn't as big as I thought, but let's see, can I run a big bold flake somewhere? Might be too thin already. It might be. Yeah, I don't want to mess it up by trying for a big bold flake when I don't have to. Yeah, this will nap just perfectly. Yep. So yeah, it became a low to mid-grade heat treat to a high grade. I consider it a high grade heat treat. Yeah, if I'm really careful with this, I can get some nice flakes from it. It feathers out. It doesn't dive in like the other one was diving in a little bit. That's a little bit worrisome when it dives in. This one's not diving in as far as I can tell, so I consider this in the high grade. This would be a high grade too. It's the lower high grade because it wants to dive. I don't like the diving. The upper high grade, it won't dive. It'll just feather out nicely. And the flakes aren't too ripply on the high grade stuff. So it became a low to mid grade raw to a mid grade heat treat to a high grade heat treat. Yep. I consider that a high grade heat treat. All right. And it's a lighter color. Yeah, see, it's a lighter color. So in general, the lighter colors are good. Do I bright 440? No, I forgot. All right. What is this one? See how the black Sharpie, I mentioned this before, and it made me a liar, but this time it didn't. See how the black Sharpie gets lighter with the heat? So now I can't read it. See if it gets glossier. Yeah, that's the note. All right. Did it get glossier? I just made a mistake by scooping it out too much, but yeah, it got glossier. Yes, it did. I scooped a little too much out there. I should have taken a flake in the other direction. Dang it. Because now it's got a scoop out. I gotta try to fix that by thinning it down. I'm losing some length. But yeah, I got glossier. Now what about the quartz pockets? Whatever they're called. I can never remember if there's a scientific name for those. Oh yeah, just blast right through. Dude, it looks like there might be some heat damage. Yeah, that's not good. Let's see. Or is it just because it's close to the cortex? Yeah, the cortex is nasty on this. Dang it. It may end up being a very small point. See that? That's very nasty. Yeah, the cortex has a lot of incipient fractures from nature. Ouch. This one might be totally useless. I might have to throw it in a totally useless batch. There's a quartz pocket right there. All right, let's see. Yeah, that might make it useless. See if I can knock a lot of it off. Yeah, so I'm going to lose a bunch off of that side, so it's not totally useless because I can see I have good stuff on this side. If that's a crack, then that's a problem too. Now, is this caused by the heat or was it already there? That's the issue. I don't know. Is that part of the natural cortex, or was the cortex messed up by the heat? I don't know. It might have been messed up by the heat. You know, you can still make stuff out of it like I've shown already. But near the edge, it's kind of a pain. It's okay in the middle. Like this was in the middle. But on the edge, it gets a little dicey. Yeah. I would lose a bunch of it. I don't know. Should I throw it in the useless? I want to give them the benefit of a doubt. I won't throw it in the useless. It's still got a spot on there that can be used. Let's see if I can find some of that other stuff. Hold on. How about this? This is really grainy. Let's see what this looks like. Got some gloss to it. Yes, yes, yes. Very nice. Come on. Oh yeah. There's some luster to that one too. Where's the brown stuff? I seem to remember need to test out that brown stuff. Well, let's try this one. I remember this one. But yeah, I need to find that brown shirt so I can... Oh no, I can save that separately. Oh, that did get a little bit lustrous. Yeah. Lustrous. Yeah, that'll nap nicely. So it wasn't so great before the 440. But now it's great. Yep. Perfect. It looks real nice. Alrighty. So yeah, I wish I had more of this stuff. Okay, but there's only a little bit of it. Well, this is kind of similar. This, even though it's nasty there on that side, no, this isn't quite as shiny. Let me see. I need to find, let's see if I have any brown stuff in here. Remember, this is one of the first pieces I knocked off in the first part of the series. And I said it's pretty typical for full gravel. Let's see what it looks like with the surface napped off. Oh yes, see that? Beautiful. It went from 0 to hero, right? Is that the saying? Go from 0 to hero? It went from 0 to hero. That's excellent. Very, very nice. I mean, it's got defects, but it's nice. And it's a nice long flake that stayed together. Yeah. It's not this one. Where is it? Dang it. No. Anyway, it was a full flake. Right? It didn't break up into a million little pieces. Right? So it was a full flake. So that means it's strong and flexible. So there it is. And it still retains some of the patterning. As long as you can get the turtleback off. Very promising. Alright, let's see. Yeah, we already napped some of this stuff. See that stuff? I don't know what that is. It's not glossy, but it naps easy. That flake was easy to remove. I already tested it. Already tested some of these, yeah. Let's see, let's write the temperature. I'm gonna have to write the temperature on all these big ones. I'm gonna throw the small ones out, the little bitty flakes. These I'll keep. I'll sell a box of bifaces of this stuff. All right. Oh, this stuff. Yeah, let's see. Some of Guillermo's points are made of this stuff. It's not glossy, but it's not bad. Yeah, switched out the aluminum for steel. Oh yeah, it can be napped. It just didn't get very glossy. But that was an overshot. I mean, that completely ran to the other side. From one end to the other. That's one indication that it's a good heat treat. Yep. So, that one worked. Yeah. Alright. Not much change in the look of it, though. Yeah, see, it's just slightly more waxy looking. This is smooth. This is just maybe a little bit smoother, but that's it. At 440, there's not much change, but it's more nappable. It's actually easy to remove the turtle back, relatively speaking. Remember, when I say easy, it means relatively. It doesn't mean like easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Oh, there's a nice lustrous one. Okay, here we go. Now we can demonstrate what the really shiny stuff looks like. Hopefully. Oh, yes. It's inconsistent, so it's not all going to be shiny. But it wasn't shiny before, right? You guys with the photographic memory? Those that remember every frame, every word, and every strike from the previous video series, from the previous videos in the series, right? You remember? And now this concrete can be napped through. It hasn't changed in luster at all, but it's easier to nap through. I thought it was all going to get shiny, but there's a piece of concrete in the middle, which is going to mess up our day. Unless I can wipe it out, get under it. I might be able to get under it. Now you guys that don't mess with pieces this small, look what you're missing out on. Yeah. See, you'll miss out on a chance to make a point with a piece of concrete eyeball in the middle. Yeah. You're missing out, man. Missing out. I didn't get a chance to show you some really nice glossy. I thought the whole thing was going to get glossy, but you can kind of see it right there. All right, what else? All this is going to be mid-grade heat treat. Yeah, with a few that are high grade and a few that are low grade. So yeah, I consider that a high grade. There's a big spall of it, right? There was a big nodule, I mean, of this. Where is it though? I don't know where the other pieces are. I think I might have it in the other box. Hold on, let me break out the other box here. I gotta wrap this up anyway. This will be in the next upcoming videos in this series. I think I've got the other part of that. I think I've got the rest of this in one of these bags. And I said I was going to nap separately because it is Primo stuff. No. No, I don't have the rest of this in a bag. Unless it's this stuff. Is that it? I don't think this is it. No. All right. I don't know what I did with it, with the rest of that one. But it's. I'll have to review the videos and see. I guess most of it's in here. Most of it's still in here, I suppose. Oh yes, I can make arrowheads out of this stuff. I've seen other arrowheads of other types made of this stuff. Like cara points made of stuff that looks like this. Let me see. Most of the Catan points were made of stuff that looks similar to this, right? In Guillermo's rocks. The Catan points. Let's see if this gets glossy. Come on. Oh yes, look at that. That'll make a cool point. Anything else interesting? This might be interesting. Come on. Come on. There it goes. Oh yeah, it'll be interesting stuff. If I can get it to cooperate. Yeah. Very nice. As long as there's no defects, this is high quality heat treat. HQHT, high quality heat treat, 440 degrees Fahrenheit. So it turned from crud to high quality heat treat. How do I know? I can just tell. Yeah, high grade stuff. It's hard to get it down to a biface from this chunker, but it can be done. Want me to do it as a challenge? I don't want to, but yeah, I can. This is in the same category as this one. This one is also HQHT. Maybe I'll just put it in a box and sell it. That way you guys know what it is. Some guys will say, I don't never know what's good. I make myself laugh. All right. Oh yeah. Yep. Oh yeah, typical heat treat. It's good. It naps like a high quality raw now instead of a low quality raw. That's the whole objective. Yep. That's the objective. It's a slightly more lustrous, but it's not that much more. It just naps now like a high quality raw, and it looks like a high quality raw. This is breaking along natural cracks. So it's not snap in half heat treat. I don't think. It could be both. It could be lots of cracklies and lots of snap in half-ish properties. Or a lot of snap in half-ish tendencies. Maybe? No, it's okay. It's alright. if it snaps in half really easy, I will throw it in the useless bin. No, but this is good. Yeah, it'll work. Yeah. Okay. So what I do is, now that this heat treat phase is done, I just pick out the stuff I can use and throw away all the little crud flakes. Like, there's some in here that might be useful for arrowheads, little bitty ones, but most of these are just crud flakes that I just toss out. Yeah. Like, I can probably make a little bitty arrowhead out of that, so I might keep those. Some of these can be made into arrowheads. It doesn't mean that I'm going to make an arrowhead out of it. It just can be made into one. So I'll keep them until I have a huge box of flakes, and then I'm probably just sell the huge box. I'll never be able to knap them all in my lifetime. This one is knappable. Snappable? Was that snappable or nappable? Nappable. Yes, yes. Too bad these aren't all 18 inches long, huh? You would pay $2 a pound for 18-inch long nodules. Yeah. That's what you want. Good luck with it. You're only going to get little nodules for $2 a pound. Although I have seen big nodules for $2 a pound, but that stuff is like, oh, terrible, terrible. Yeah. So I'd call that medium quality heat treat. MQHT, medium quality. Might be able to preserve some of that speckling. Yeah, on the finished point. Some of these are interesting, these gravel cherts. If you can be lucky enough to preserve some of that in your finished point. I say lucky enough because it's not that easy. You can't rely on it. Let me see if this is glossy. I got a feeling it is. Some of this is in there, so I got to be careful to not forget to label this and put it in the bag that it corresponds to. Oh yes, see it looks very glossy. That's a natural crack, I believe, in there, or a crack from the original flake removal. Yeah, very glossy, very nice. So I'm gonna label this and then put it in the bag over there. 40 degrees Fahrenheit. And then I think it goes in, let's see, is it this one? No. I'll just put it in the box and I'll figure that later. I think it's in there. I don't want to spend too much time on it right now on video. I'll do it later, like tomorrow after I got time. I got to get ready for the auction tonight. That one's nice. This one is it's an MQ heat treat. It might be high grade. Okay. Almost 2 hours. Yeah. This takes a long time if you really get persnickety with it. But yeah, you got a lot of, I'm going to have a lot of pieces that I can make stuff out of. Yeah. As long as I'm careful and don't make them too thin. You start getting too greedy, you break them all, and it's not worth it. That is also glossy, so this one is also, or it looks waxy. Okay. I can already tell it's going to nap well. And as long as it's consistent, I can make a pretty good size arrowhead out of it. Larger than this one made out of raw. This one's a raw piece from the video. But, you know, this is large enough I can make a bigger point than that. I can make one of these probably. Yeah. All right, so excellent. Well, I say excellent because I feel better now that I can use a bunch of it. I was afraid, yep, I was afraid that maybe this box would make me a liar. But no, it's the same stuff that I'm used to. Yeah, just regular. This will work as long as there's not too much damage on the cortex. But see how it's kind of pinkish on this side but greenish on that side. So the difference in coloration is only on the outside. So a lot of this heat treat apparently isn't it's not classifiable as a heat treat on color because the color is only on the surface. To classify it as a heat treat by the look of it, you have to go by the luster of it or the smoothness or something. Okay. Oh, that's nice. Look at that. This is a high grade heat treat. Dang. And it's only a little stupid little chunk. Wish I had more of that. I mean, I did before I broke off this chunk. That's good stuff. Now, is it going to snap in half? That's the question. Once you get it thinned down, some of this high grade or high quality heat treat will snap in half easily. That's the only problem. Yeah. That's the problem. I would consider that a medium quality heat treat. Right there. Okay, so I'm going to nap some of that off camera. Separate all these into useful and non-useful flakes. I think I've satisfied my curiosity as to how each of the different nodules is now napping. These flakes are really good. High quality. Yep, high quality heat treat. So it went from 0 to hero, right? That's the way to remember it. It went from 0 to hero. Yeah, look at that. Just look at it. Look at it. Okay. So you did get to see some of the really glossy stuff, the high grade, the high quality heat treat. Yeah. Yeah, aesthetics has a lot to do with it, but also when it's glossy like that, it's very easy to run long flakes because it becomes obsidian like. Yeah. All right. There you go. So I'm going to put these things in like bags like this and put those to the side. I will offer a box of these bifaces in the auction. I'll probably put these all together in a box of bifaces and then start on these over here. In the next series of videos, I'm going to be knapping these, what I call actual primos, actual good stuff. See, a lot of this became high grade, but I'm thinking that all of this will be high grade once it gets heated to the right temperature. So the next videos in the series are going to be focused on nodules by themselves, knapping side by side raw with heat treat, that sort of thing. You know, I'll try to take off good spalls from this so I can heat treat one batch of spalls and leave one batch raw and compare the two. Okay, so there you go.